Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Aqibatun lil Mustaqim. Wala Rahwana ila ala Dalimeen. Altay Subhanahu wa Ta'ala Amtanani wa Shukri. Muhammadan huwa Sayyidina Makbubana innahu kana Sayyidin Mursaleen. Salawatu Allah Ta'ala wa salamu alayhi. Salamu alaikum rahmatullah katu lil ikwani wa wati fi din wa salamu ala mani taba huda lil ikwani wa wati fi Afrika, Europa wa America wa kuli makan. My brothers and sisters, continue on with the lessons about the Niyat, which means the intentions in Islam. And unlike other religions who don't get into the deep essence of being a human being, they're at a disadvantage. This is why Subhanahu wa Ta'ala made it so that our prophet would be the last remaining prophet, and that his message would be followed by all. And because the other prophets were given their mission, each one had its own specific idea, concept, but always Tawheed was always the main focus. But each was given maybe to a population or to a region or something like this. But our prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, was given direction for the whole humanity. And so the human being has intentions, and those intentions have to be examined in order for us to be right. And I was thinking the other day about how our great ancestors who ruled all the way from India, all the way across into the Jazira Arab, as we call it today, or the Middle East, across North Africa and into Africa itself, and then Western Europe, of course, Andalus, what you know today is Spain and Portugal. And we see this, and we ask questions about our ancestors and their Nia. And I thought about their Nia and how Subhanahu wa Ta'ala rewarded them because of their intentions. Their intentions were honorable, their intentions were truthful, and they prospered. And Subhanahu wa Ta'ala gave them bounty, and he gave them power and governance under his sharia. And I think about like in India, they had 4 black, quote unquote, black Africans actually who were sultans in India. Because remember, India was ruled 1,000 years by Muslim rule. 4 of the sultans that they know of, or maybe even more, they were black men from Africa. And they have beautiful sultanates. Then we look at across the Andalus, we have a variety of different, brothers, Afro-Arabs, the Afro-Amazigh, the Black Africans, and they ruled Andalus, and they had golden sultanates. And I look at then the 5 generous and powerful sultanates in Morocco that helped to rule Andalus, which Murabitun, Muwahidun, there's a whole list of these Sadiyin, Alawin, which is still in power today. And I look at all those sultans and how they governed and their Nia. And so we look at all of that, and then we look at West Africa, we see Idris al-Loma, we see Usman bin Fodio, Samari Toure. We go down the list. All of these brothers had the Nia, and that Nia was correct according to Subhanahu wa Ta'ala and our Prophet ﷺ, and it governed under with the right intentions, and they were rewarded. Summary Tory didn't really have a powerful sultanate because he was involved in a struggle against the colonialism, but he fought with muskets, essentially, bows and arrows and spears, and he held off the French for 20 years. And so we look at that, and then we see Omar Dal in Senegal. You look at him, he was a powerful, powerful mujahid. And again, his Nia, fi sabili Allah Ta'ala. They all had the same common theme, fi sabili Allah. And this is something that we all should strive for. If we look at those examples there, we see how Subhanahu wa Ta'ala rewarded them. They did not govern under any other governance except what Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has revealed. According to what Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is revealed in the Quran and with the and also with the understanding from our Prophet ﷺ, and with the understanding of the three favorite generations. And these people governed, and they governed in a sense that we should emulate. And look how they settled disputes. They didn't run to the Europeans to settle their disputes. They went to Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, and they went to the Prophet ﷺ. So I'm giving you this to give you a backdrop to help you to understand how important it is with the intentions, because the intentions and the Muslim are same, because our intention has to be right in order for us to get rewarded. If our intentions is wrong, we get demerits for it. And we have to be very careful. And I'll be covering some other sections later on, inshallah ta'ala, where next segment we'll have, where we'll be dealing with the salat. Because one of the things, one of our greatest pillars is salat. This today is taking a back seat. And I'll go through that and talk about the Nia. And there's some interesting things with our scholars said about these things. So I give you those ancestors and about what they did and how they governed. And they governed with the right Nia. Fi sabili Allah Ta'ala. They sought the reward with Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. They did not seek the dunya. Yes, they governed in the dunya. Yes, they wanted they wanted prosperity in the dunya only because of fi sabili Allah, to spread the deen of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala and to govern the land and what was under their power, fi sabili Allah Ta'ala, according to his sharia and according to the sharia of our Prophet ﷺ, and also with the emulation of the Sunnah of our Prophet ﷺ as well. So, and you look at all of these men, and then we look at our scholars, beautiful scholars we had all across Jazeera Arab, North Africa, West Africa, East Africa. We haven't even touched East Africa, and you know, South Africa. Many people know about this. We had brilliant scholars down there, and we had others down there. We have never even touched even parts of that. We've only touched basically North Africa and West Africa, and that's it. And so, and you look at these scholars, like in Mali, you know, Ahmed Baba Sudani, my favorite. You look at him and you see their Nia, and Subhanahu wa Ta'ala gave them knowledge because he saw that he wanted to emulate the Sunnah, that he saw that they wanted to promote the Sharia Allah Ta'ala, and they want to govern under Subhanahu wa Ta'ala Hakimiyya Islamiyya, which is Subhanahu wa Ta'ala's governance. They wanted that, so Subhanahu wa Ta'ala gave them what they asked for, and they gave them knowledge, they gave them power, and this is a beautiful thing. So I want you to understand that the brothers who, our ancestral brothers who governed, were something else, and we should emulate them. We should study them to see how they did, because they had turbulent times as well. We have turbulence. We have turbulent times today, but no era didn't have turbulence. Because you're going to have things that happen. We're human beings, but they still governed under that. And we don't mention, and I'll say this also about inside the United States. In the United States, do you know that we had scholars there who were captured, you know, by our ancestral brothers, and they were sold into slavery? But we had brilliant Africans who were taken, and we also realize that they were taken from Morocco as well. And this came about because we start seeing, as we talked about the DNA, and we talked about the DNA of many African Americans, they have DNA from North Africa. Very interesting, huh? Some people came up with DNA, they found Tuareg. They were shocked. I would be too, because we have been led to believe that we were only taken from West Africa and that's it. That's not the case now. We found out that Morocco, a lot were taken, because I look at my heritage, I found my mother. On my mother's side, I mean, my mother stretched all the way across. Fulani, Amazir, Fulani, Mandinka, Mende. I mean, my mom's family was all mixed up. But we had heritage and here in Morocco. And I've gotten around about 500 relatives in Morocco alone. Yes, 500 relatives, blood relatives of mine here in Morocco. As a matter of fact, some live around me. And so we understand that Morocco also had slaves taken mainly from the south. But I wanted to say that we had African Americans with who were strong, Bilali, Muhammad, and there was some others that prominent black people who were slaves. And then like Bilali, Muhammad, they lived on the island outside of Georgia and stuff like that, who wrote a lot of treatises and so forth and so on. They had the Nia and so forth, Islamia in their hearts. So this is a beautiful thing. So I'll get started here, my brothers and sisters. So you see here truthfulness. Truthfulness is one of the important traits of the intention, the Nia. You have to have this truthfulness in order for your Nia to be correct. And the scholars have determined, and they give a list of things that we know that helps to propel the niyat, the intentions of the Muslim. And this is evenness, number one, evenness in public and private. The Muslim is truthful. He's in private, he's truthful, and he's in public, he's truthful. Meaning, like today, we have people who smile and generously in your face and so forth and so on, who put out a different aura out in the public. But behind the closed doors and stuff like that, I'm not talking about private, we're not talking about sinful moments, we're not talking about that. But even in the private, they are sincere in their intentions. And remember something, my brothers and sisters, we're not going by what the dictionary says of intentions. We don't go by that. We're going by what Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has determined, what our Prophet has determined, and what the three favorite generations have determined, and what our beautiful ulama and fuqaha of every generation is what they have determined, and how they to dissect the intentions of the heart. And so this is what we go by. And these are some of the things we're listing here now. The evenness in public and private. Second, an action done with the hereafter in mind and reward for the truthful actions. This is something where I give you example what I mean by that. The actions done with the hereafter in mind. You know you have to make your slot. You do this for what? Not to show off, not for arrogance, but what? For the hereafter. Because you know this is one of the ways you can get close to Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is by the prayer. And so you do this with the intentions of reward for the truthful. This is a truthful action. The prayer of the Muslim is a truthful intention and it's rewarded. This is a big thing. Now, I give you an example of this, which I'll come back to this a little later, inshallah, also, the light. Say the light, who thinks about the light in our houses? We take advantage of this modern technology, we have that. Okay, and you turn on a light in your house. Is that fi sabilillah? No, it's not. It's recommended because people need to see. So this is not a reward. This is not an action geared towards pleasing Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. It is in the sense that, yes, you turn it on so the kids, the family can get up and so forth and so on. But let's change this around. Say we have some brothers. Like I remember what happened in Detroit. There were some ingenious brothers who they lived in a poor area and they got their money, they pulled their money together plus donations, and they got them a place where they can hold salat. This is what our brothers have to resort to in the United States, why it's so difficult. And they bought a place, but they had no lighting. A brother came in who knew electricity very well, and he put in the lighting. Now he's getting reward for that because he did it so the brothers can worship in this new masjid, vis-a-vis Allah. So that's the difference. Inside your house, you go turn on the light because you can't see, you want to get a book, you want to get some snacks out of the kitchen. That's not the same thing. You don't get reward for that. It's recommended because you need the light in order for you to get the things that you need to get out of the kitchen. So you understand the difference. Number 3, evenness of the tongue, the heart, and action. This is very difficult in modern times to have this because you see what has happened now with our scholars, many of them. And here, I'm not blaming them. I'm not chiding them. I'm not saying anything against them. I'm just pointing out facts because each one of us have our fears. And nowadays, many of our scholars can't talk. They only can keep us in the 7th and 8th century. But the problems today, they cannot talk to you about that because you see what has happened in Muslim states in particular. And in the Western states, the ones who talk a lot, they're given jail sentences or they're given terror designations. In Muslim states, they are arrested. Not all. Now, let me say something to you. Not all the 57 states are the same way. Because here in Morocco, we have a lot of scholars here who have made their way from other places. They made their way here to Morocco. And so we have a lot of scholarship here, and we always have the scholarship. But, even that, people have to be very careful in how they talk and how they approach the modern times. It's very difficult. So this is why many our layman brothers in Islam, they're upset because we can't get the teachings that help us to give us decisions of modern times. You understand what I mean? Yes, they can talk about the 7th and 8th century very well and give us a history. But when it gets down to problems we have inside our, in our heart, with our families, outside them, because we have all this technology, they don't want to approach that. And they see things that's going on and they don't talk about that. So their evenness of the tongue is not correct. What's in their heart, it's good, yes. But their action also is calculated. It's not a form of hypocrisy, but it's fear. And this is why it's like that. So the evenness of the tongue, the heart, and action with many of our scholars today is not there. Because they speak, yes, I'm not saying they speak with hypocrisy. No, they're not speaking with hypocrisy. But they only speak certain truths that take you only back to the 7th and 8th century, or they'll give something, but they don't help you for modern times. In general, there's some that do. Sheikh Yusuf there in Sudan, and Sheikh Ardudu, Mauritania, and they do talk. There's some others too who also will help you in modern times. So I just wanted to give you that example about that. The evenness of the tongue and the heart and action must be coordinated again for the right intentions. But out of fear, many of us cannot speak what we want to say because we're afraid for our families. And this understandably, when you have children, how would you like it if you're thrown in prison? And how are they going to fend for themselves? And you have a wife, and say we have some who are divorced, and they may have the care of their children, or maybe their wives died, and we've had that. So what's going to happen if they're thrown in jail because of a comment? They shouldn't be thrown in jail, but we know it happens. So they have to tone back what they want to say, and there's no fault to them in this regard. But Subhanahu wa Ta'ala will judge them with their niyyah, because we do not know exactly what's in their heart. We only know by what their action. But Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is all knowing. He will judge at his time that he says is right. Now, 4, speaking and action from it done without hidden motives. We see this today. We have people speak to us, but they have hidden motives behind it. We have people try to butter you up, or blowing smoke. You know what I mean? I can't say that last word, but blowing smoke, trying to beef you up because they want something from you, or there's something that they're trying to get from you. See, so this is, again, the attention. That person's getting demerit for it. We're not talking about specific incidents inside the house, like the wife fixed, say, a pie, and it doesn't taste very well, okay? But to save, to have good relations inside the house, the husband says, oh, yeah, okay, sweetheart, I like this pie. But, you really don't care for it. She made better pies before. That's a different situation. But if I go outside with the intention to deceive, this is what we're talking about here, then this is wrong. It's a demerit on our part. Now, again, if you're walking down the street and a bunch of thugs approach you, we're not talking about that either. You have to do what you have to do in order to get out of the situation. So I don't want y'all to understand that. We're talking about here where you're not under any duress and you come out of your house with the intention of deceiving. And prime example of that is modern times is the Western world, where men come out, women come out with deception. They'll go to a woman, the non-Muslims in particular, but Muslims are starting to do this as well. And they go to a woman with intentions to have relations with her. So they beef her up, they do things, they take her somewhere and so forth and so on, only to get the ultimate action what they want, which is the bedroom. Those type of things like this are get demerits in Islam because we're not supposed to do that. This is what I'm talking about. It's a big difference. Their intention is not that of fi sabilillah. There is something different outside of that. So the hidden motives, the true Muslim is not this way, and the best of us are not this way. We speak in our actions from it, and we don't have the hidden motives. We're not looking for money from this person. We're not looking for some relationship with them, or we're not looking to gain some benefit from this person. So we lie to them and we put on a act, facade in order to get that. It's wrong. We don't like that in Islam. Number 5, sincerity needs truthfulness. And the truthful Muslim and Muslimah is sincere. This is important because sincerity and truthfulness go hand in hand, brothers and sisters. In Islam, we see this, we understand that, and we know that. This is why, I don't know if you notice this, but there's a lot of situations where, especially the brothers, now because there's a lot of brothers want to marry, okay? And they're finding sisters that are not all that beautiful, okay, as far as physical. But when they talk to you, you feel the truthfulness and sincerity from them. And I know some brothers have married these girls and they're so happy because the wife that they have, she fits this situation here, okay? The sincerity needs truthfulness. The wife is that way. And the truthful Muslim and Muslimah is sincere, and the wife is this way. And so they have got themselves a treasure. She may not be the most beautiful girl in the world. And some of these brothers talk about that. But the beauty that she has inside and her actions and sincerity and the way she raises the family is sincere. And she's truthful when she talks. No man can ask for more than that. No man can ask for more than that. I would rather have that than a beautiful, voluptuous woman, even a Muslimah, who speaks with a forked tongue, so to speak. She says one thing over here, but actually she's another motive over here. And so this is a big difference. And this is something when we go to examine for a sister for marriage, we have to look at this intention and we have to ask the right questions to get those things out of them. And you watch them when you ask those questions. You ask a question of the wife, prospective wife that you want. And you ask her a question. Well, Amina, I got to ask you a question. What about the Tahajjud prayer before Salat al-Fajr? You look at her when she answers that question. You ask her, well, what about how do you feel about home maintenance and so forth and so on? You look at her and see how she answers the question. You'll feel her sincerity. We know that there's deception sometimes. Some just do it just to get married so they can get something from you. We understand that. But we do have sisters who are very sincere and they're truthful. And so when you talk to them, you'll see this and you'll feel it and you'll fall in love with them. And this is something that, I think about these brothers, this one brother who was, this is some years back now, who was wrestling because he looked at her and he said, she's not beautiful, but she's not really ugly, but she's not really beautiful either. But he began to find other things about her. and he's still been married to her. And he said he picked the right woman. There was another one he wanted to pick. He was very, very beautiful. And she did marry, but that brother divorced her. See, and because she was not a truthful Muslim. But this one he married is that way. Number 6. So actions and truthfulness is done vis-a-vis Allah Ta'ala and the fundamental obeyance of the Sunnah. This is something that the intentions are not, and truthfulness are not given enough time to, because we went away from what? The governance of Allah and His Sharia, and we went away from the Sunnah and the Sharia of our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. We went away from that. So now we have problems in this area big time. Actions of truthfulness is done vis-a-vis Allah Ta'ala, and the fundamental of the Sunnah. We have problems everywhere on this. Muslim states, non-Muslim states, we have this problem everywhere now. And so, and even our brothers who are mujahideen vis-a-vis Allah, who are everywhere in the Sahel region, we have them in Jazeera Arab, we have them, Pakistan and other places like this. And you have to see what their truthfulness is. Anytime the brother and a group of brothers get together and their mujahideen become mujahideen vis-a-vis Allah Ta'ala, but they start to kidnap and they start to take our young sisters, our daughters from the schools, or they start going to villages and they wreak havoc. They burn up the village and they go after the people, and they take their young sons to force their sons into the mujahideen. That's not truthfulness, sincerity, brothers and sisters. Again, that's criminal. And so even among our brothers who are mujahideen fisbillah, not all, but a great majority have this, and you can measure them by what they say. They say, I'm doing this fisbillah Allah. When you went to that village and you ransacked it, you marauded that village, how can you say this is an action, it's a truthful action? It is not. Now, we're not talking about certain circumstances because they're fighting. Those are giving comfort to the Tubab and their armies and so forth and so on. That's a different situation altogether. We're not talking about that. Brothers have to go in there and they have to do what they have to do. But we're talking about innocent people, especially in the Sahel region, who are not involved in anything. They're poor. They're barely surviving. They survive barely on nothing. And here's come the Mujahideen group, armed to the teeth, to come through and maraud. This is not truthfulness. So the truthfulness, fi-sabilillah Allah Ta'ala, among us today is very low. And the fundamental observance of the Sunnah is even lower than that. We have hardly anybody. It's only a few of us today is actually having the fundamental obedience of the Sunnah. Very few. And now we're adopting everything. All we have to do is you go to the masjids everywhere in the world today. Look especially at our young men. They dress like the gangsters of the United States. You see that. You see many of them who are our sisters who emulate some of the singers and actresses in the United States and Europe. We see that. We have older Muslims today who have removed everything, and they look like, they dress like Europeans and Americans. Okay, same clothing, same attitude, and everything. And so we have a problem in this area. The sincerity with them and the truthfulness is not there. Because if they had it, it'd be fi-sabilillah Allah, and they would have the fundamental obedience of the Sunnah. They don't have that. This is why it's a problem, brothers and sisters. The truthfulness done without the aforementioned is not rewarded, but recommended. Meaning, if you are, you're in a store or something like that, especially in the Western world, and but you're truthful and you're honest. Meaning, I give an example of this. Say you go to the register and the man only charges you, say, $1, when he should have charged you $3 because you have many items in the basket. But we're human beings. He's thinking about something else. He charged you $1, but it's $3 item. The $3 that you have $3 of candy, cake, or whatever the situation may be. The Muslim, the truthful Muslim, would say, "Hey, sir, you forgot to charge me with this." He's not rewarded, but it's recommended with his action. His action, his sincerity and truthfulness is recommended, because he could steal from the man. Now, he may get some ajr some other way from subhanahu wa ta'ala, because his truthfulness. He could have went on ahead and took the items free, but he would have been in trouble with subhanahu wa ta'ala, because he know that it's like stealing those items. See, so the truthfulness is rewarded in governance and upholding justice in it. Brothers and sisters, there's only one governance, and it's Hakamiyya Islamiyya, the Sharia Allah Ta'ala. This is what the governance is. Only one for the Muslim. And he must uphold justice in it. He does this, he's rewarded. If he mixes, adds, takes away from, discards, then these actions are not rewarded. It's a big difference. This is why I say the Muslims, we are different. We take intentions, we look at our scholars, what they talk about, and we look at things, and this is how we measure ourselves as Muslims. Me, you, all of us. And so how do we solve problems in Compton? How do we solve problems among the Muslims in Los Angeles? How do we solve problems with the Muslims in Mobile, Alabama, or Jackson, Mississippi, or the ATL, or New York City, in Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, Washington, D.C.? How do we solve that? We solve it by the Sharia Allah Ta'ala wa Sunnah Rasuli alayhi salatu salam. Do we solve it that way? Or we use what we want? These are things that I'm talking about. Those, when you use other than what subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed, the truthfulness is not there, because you're using whims from your heart. You're using what the disbelievers are using, and so forth and so on. And they use a lot of trickery and a lot of corruption and so forth and so on. How can that be truthful? It's not. So truthfulness is rewarded in governance and upholding justice in it. Now, you can have the Sharia Allah Ta'ala, but then you can have a ruler who is not upholding justice in it. He is spreading injustice inside the country. It's not rewarded, even though he's running the Sharia and the Sunnah. But his injustice in the country is so great. He'll get judged for that, because he's the imam of the country. And when you have a lot of injustices, then you have a lot of corruption in the land, it falls on his shoulders, because it's him who's given the power to rule under what subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed, which is Sharia Islamiyya or Hakimiyya Islamiyya. But he's not doing that. And we see that today, and we have many problems in this area. 9, if that governance is done under Sharia Allah Ta'ala, it is rewarded. If not, it is not rewarded. As you heard me say, if you say, look, I'm gonna rule by what subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed. Hakimiyya Islamiyya, the governance of subhanahu wa ta'ala, and use the governance of the Quran and from the Sunnah alayhi salatu salam, and what our 3 favorite generations, and what our fuqaha ulama, who should help the imam of the country, the ruler, then they're rewarded for it. If they abandon the Sharia and they take other governances other than the Sharia, they're not rewarded for it. Big difference, isn't it? And the rulers have a special covenant with subhanahu wa ta'ala, and their judgment is more harsher than you and me, because we're not ruling. We don't have the country under our hands, but they are given a special privilege and special power, sultan inside the country, and they allow corruption and injustice to prevail in it. They will suffer for it in hereafter for that. And then when they abandon the Sharia and they put in things and do constitutions, you look at Tunis here the other day. Tunis here every other month, they seem like be changing the constitution, because each time they run further and further away from Sharia Islamiyya, and they have problems. They have demonstrations after demonstrations, and they have many problems, many problems in Tunisia, many problems. And so, because they're not governing under the Sharia, they're not. They have nothing to do with it, and they're trying to tweak it here and there, and they can't do it, and people are angry and so forth. But the people are also at fault because they themselves too are not asking for the Sharia Islamiyah. They're not asking for that. They're asking for democratic ways and means, which they don't even understand what that means, but that's what they think it's okay, you know, this is going to give them jobs and everything else. It's not that. Subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the rizq. That's what we call it in Arabic. That gives them the provisions to live on, Subhanahu wa ta'ala. And here, actions, deed, governance, other than what Subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah Ta'ala has revealed, but justice prevails in it. It is highly rewarded. But governance, I should have reworded that different. Excuse me for that. I said the wrong things here. I got the wrong things here. The action, deeds, and governance other than Allah Ta'ala is revealed, but justice prevails in it. It is highly recommended, what I should say, not rewarded. It's highly recommended. Even if this person is not, how can I say, even if this person is not governing under Sharia Islamiyah or Hakimi Islamiyah, then he is not rewarded for that. But if he has justice in it, then it's recommended. Okay, he's given kudos for it, but he's not rewarded vis-a-vis Allah Ta'ala. But he has justice in it, but he did not take the governance of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So this is why it's a big difference here that we have to recommend it. I'm changing that because recommended, yeah. And I'll take this part out here to take it out because it's not okay. Yeah, okay. All right, yeah, okay. All right, yeah, okay. So, my brothers and sisters, our, how can I say, our chances today to gain reward is very, very small because we have so much injustice around us today. We have so much injustice, and we have a lot of people who are not following the Sharia Islamiyah, and we have a lot of people who are following all kinds of things today. And today we have people who wake up everywhere in the world. They don't even think about their niyah. And I know we're human beings. We wake up in the morning, we work. Some of us work. How I'm going to find a job today? I need to feed my family. We have sisters in the house begging to have their problems resolved with their husbands because their husbands are not living up to the standards of a good Muslim husband. Those sisters wake up sometimes with tears in their eyes, and they have heavy hearts. And we're human beings. And she wakes up, she doesn't think about her intention. She just goes through the motion. She goes to make her wudu, to make her prayer, because she has a heavy heart, and so forth and so on. And we have brothers who cannot find jobs to support their families. They wake up with a heavy heart, and they don't know how they're going to feed their families. They want to feed their families, but they cannot. All these type of things goes into defeating the truthfulness of our intentions. And we're human beings. But the best of us, we have to play through that. We have to beg Subhanahu wa Ta'ala by making more of our prayers, making more offerings of prayer. Meaning, if you were making 5 daily prayers, okay, and you didn't make tahajjud at night, you asked the prayer about an hour and a half or so before the Fajr prayer, it's highly recommended. Tahajjud is highly recommended. I've been doing that for many years now since I became, when I came here to Morocco. I began to learn the religion very well when I made my hijra here to Morocco. Then I began to learn my religion. But this is a highly recommended time, even for the sister. I know it's hard, especially the sister who's got young children or a baby there, It's not easy when you got to get up at nighttime to take care of the baby. It's not easy to get up an hour, 2 hours before. Maybe the baby now has just now started to sleep, and you need to get your rest because you need your strength. So you can't get up after the baby's been up most of the night. It's very difficult. Subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that in your heart you get rewarded for that because you're taking care of your child. But if we have certain problems, we take it to Subhanahu wa ta'ala and we make our dua and you make a lot of dhikr to him and you beseech him and you ask Subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you this victory, to give you this relief that you need, for your problems that you have. And we have a lot of this going on today, a lot. We have brothers also who suffer inside the house. They married a sister who, on the first hand, you thought she was okay. But then as the 1 year, 2 years, 3 years go down the road, you start seeing things. And now she's become like a she-devil inside the house. Words can't be trusted. She's untrustworthy. She's doing things outside the house, but you cannot prove everything, but you know there's things that she's doing. And so from so on, those brothers suffer as well. So we have all of this in the Ummah today. And we, on top of that, we have the enemy who's fighting us at the same time. So it's very difficult for us to have the good intentions, but we must work at that. And these are some of the things here that I gave you a guide to help you in that. And you also remember something, brothers and sisters, and all fails, maintain the sharia Islamiyah, maintain it. And the Sunnah of our Prophet, meaning, again, even some of the basic fundamental principles that our Prophet practiced, you practice that. And be mindful of that. Even in your times of duress, even times of anger, you must try to uphold this and you'll get rewarded for it. If you have the good intentions in the time you wake up in the morning to the time you go to bed, you're not perfect, but none of us. We're going to make sins. We're going to say things that we shouldn't have said. We'll have things in our heart. We've had actions that we've done we shouldn't have done. Those things happen because we're human beings, okay? But we still maintain the intention that we want to do things truthfully and sincerely in our lives as Muslims. And Subhanahu wa ta'ala, with his permission, he rewarded us for us. So the intention with the Muslims is very important. And I just gave you an aspect of this with the truthfulness and so forth, which is a very important aspect. And this is why I say to you, brothers, when you go to look for the wife, you ask certain questions and you watch her to see the answers that you give. If you have negative vibrations from her, then you may Subhanahu wa ta'ala may tell, hey, this is not the right sister for you to marry. Okay, don't go only by beauty. Yes, we know the hadith, the Prophet says you can pick a woman because of beauty, wealth, and so forth and so on. Yes. But we have a lot of sisters today. I know this, I saw this now. We have a lot of sisters that are not very attractive according to Western standards. They're not very attractive, but they're so sincere and their truthfulness, and they will be good mothers for these brothers. But we have many brothers who ignore them because they watch TV or they watch a magazine, they look at a magazine or they look at something and they have these concepts of a woman, and that's what they go by. They don't go by her religion, what they should be going by. They go by only the sexual things they feel, and this gets us in trouble. And all the brothers have problems in this area, and they get the wrong woman, and then that beauty that you just saw now is turned into she's a she-devil. So all the sexual things that you had now is gone because you see what she really is. And the same thing with our sisters. Our sisters, a prospective brother comes to the house. You begin to ask him questions too, and you watch him give the answers. If you begin to ask him, how are you going to provide for the family? And you start to notice him, he's turning left, he's turning right, that's insincerity. The truthfulness is not coming from him. You ask questions about, okay, we have children, what do you want to do? What's your aspirations? And so forth and so on. You watch those answers. You ask about his Islam. You ask him about his prayer. You ask him, do you get up for tahajjud? Watch what he says. If he says no, you want to know why. And listen to what he says. I'm just giving you pointers for our dear sisters as well, if they look for prospective marriages from brothers. You have the right to question him as well. Not only he has the right to examine you, you have the right to examine him to make sure that he's going to be the right father for you. He'll father good children, and he'll have children who can emulate, especially your sons will emulate him. So you have, and a lot of times our sisters don't. They too get trapped up in things. They see a young punk Muslim, he's got all the modern trappings, the haircut like the with the modern boys, young men are wearing today. He's got the hip hop and so forth, attitudes and everything. And she's all, bothered about it. But then the minute she gets inside the house, she realized she's just married a devil. And we hear this time and time again as well, brothers and sisters. We hear this. And so this is why now I'm talking to the brothers in our close. The fathers, especially the brothers in my generation now, you have your daughters and you have your sons. You have to train them. Our sisters who don't have the husbands inside the home now, but you have to be more forceful. If you have a brother come to the house who wants to marry your daughter, you must take the mantle. Now you go to your daughter and you quiz her, not quiz her, but you prep her, because she needs to know what kind of man, because the marriage is not a 1 week, 2 week thing. You go to Holiday Inn, you have a honeymoon, and then everything's okay. No, it's a lifetime commitment. So you have to train her to know how to ask the questions. And even you, my dear sister, this man comes in the house, he wants to marry your daughter. You should have some questions for him. You should know how he lives, where he lives, and what he's been doing, and so forth and so on. And whatnot. And the same thing with the brothers. You go to a house and you see the sister or the pops inside the house. Train the son. Say, hey, don't look at her beauty only. You get to start asking her questions. How is she going to take care of the house? Can she cook food? Can she maintain? Can she cook food for the children? Can she do this? Can she maintain the household? These questions have to be asked, and you should ask that. You have the right to ask that. These and her intentions, the intentions of both should be probed to see if they're truthful or not. If they're not truthful, back away. Even though he's appealing to you, you see him, he's hip hop, he's got the walk, he's got the talk, he's still Muslim, but he's modern Muslim. And you say, oh, look, I showed with this brother here, oh man, all of the sisters gonna be jealous. That's not truthfulness on your part either. It's insincerity, and it's gonna get you in trouble. We see this today. We have sisters married these young punks like this, and they have problems. And we have brothers too who say, hey, you know what? I see this sister here. Look how beautiful she is. I go parade her around. All the brothers are going to be jealous. But then after about a year, sometimes even less than that, you see she's not sincere. She's a she-devil. And we see that as well. But yes, she's beautiful, but her intentions and the way her life is not good. And especially inside the house is not good. So my brothers and sisters, I will continue on my series the next time here, inshallah ta'ala. And I'm hoping that you did get something out of this. And we pray to subhanahu wa ta'ala that he gives us the right guidance, and that he help us in our daily lives. And he also to help us strengthen our niyah, our intentions, to make our intentions good, so that way we can be the best Muslims we possibly can. We can be the best human beings, because the Muslim is the best human being that we have on this earth. He's best if he's running according to the way subhanahu wa ta'ala said in his book. You are the best human being that the world has to offer. And so we have to maintain this status, brothers and sisters, and we have to strengthen our niyah. So I'll leave you with that until the next time, inshallah ta'ala. And we'll go to another lesson where we'll talk more deeply about the salat, how important that is. There's a lot of things about intention about salat and get us all in trouble. So we'll go over that, inshallah ta'ala. So I'll leave you with the beautiful words of this beautiful Afro-Asiatic language. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.